everyone, welcome to your favorite podcast, Wole Wole Today. I am still your host, Sainteran Today Temilara. Today we are going to be talking about a topic that is not widely spoken about, or I can say not a lot of people know about this, but they see it as a way of life and a way of convenience. So I have a guest with me who is going to introduce himself. So sir, please go ahead. Welcome to the podcast and please introduce yourself to us.
Alright, my name is Sanitaran Moses Ololapo. I guess that's just about the introduction you need.
I was thinking maybe the BSc, the PhD, the MNDD, or the DDD was going to come in. Thank you so much for your time to be here to discuss with us. So today we are going to be talking about open defecation, a menace to public health. Then we're going to be talking about strategies for combating open defecation and achieving open defecation free. I think the first thing I would like to ask is, what is open defecation for people that do not really know what it is about? Because open defecation sounds like a big English. So I think you should help us break it down into smaller bits.
Alright, so as the name implies, open defecation, it simply refers to any act where someone or people go about the business of defecating in the open, rather than as expected to be done behind closed doors in a well-designed built toilet or sanitary convenience. To put it in a layman's term, open defecation simply means passing excreta in the open, and these open places include beside the road verges, road median, in the canal, in the bush, on the field, open fields, etc. Passing excreta anywhere other than the toilet. That simply is open defecation.
It's supposed to be done indoors, not outdoors. But things of nature, this our stomach and defecating and all of that is something we can't really control.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I have a way to do that outside? And it's not until when I walk into a supermarket that I can actually, because going into banks and supermarket takes a lot. So me trying to do that, how do I find a way? I feel like, okay, open defecation is something that, short food, sharp. I know they waste time. Just let it out and move on with our lives, Is there like better ways of doing that?
Now, let me ask you a question. I'm sure majority of Nigerians want to japa, travel. Some may not necessarily want to go there and live, but at least go outside the shores of Nigeria and at least see things for themselves. How possible is it for someone to be in the city of London, for example, and then they are pressed, then they just go by one corner and just off their pants or trousers and just start defecating? How very possible is that? How likely is it? Now, if you cannot do that in London, for example, anyway, I believe you shouldn't do that back home in Nigeria, because we want our cities to become like London someday, isn't it? And of course, like you rightly said, sometimes we do not have absolute control over some some processes in the body. So, but we have control over choices. So part of the choices, now we are going to get to measures that can help the citizens, the public. We can get to that, but there are available options. You can, if it becomes very urgent that you need to do the major, you can walk into supermarkets, shopping malls, banks, public schools, etc. There are 101 available alternatives for that. I'm just saying there are 101 available alternatives that people can use. Now, I believe in a bit, we are going to be getting into the consequences arising from open defecation. Now, because by the time people can picture the consequences of that action or the consequence arising from that action, they can better choose between doing it properly and doing it in the open when they weigh the options of consequences.
Walking into the supermarket, it's not everywhere you can just go in like that. It's only people that have the, will I say, compassion. But some people tell you it's not allowed, that you can't come in. It's just like, then I want to use a very, very funny example, but back then when we were here, we used to go to Skybank.
Okay.
It got to a point that Skybank does not allow us in with the way we, because they know that they got to find out.
Do your business. Now, that is not far from the truth, because they are there to run a business and not a charity or a public toilet. But then there will always be a place for compassion, and there will always be options. Sincerely, I still want to maintain that. If it means, now in cases where there are no public toilets inside, if it means entering a place where you can buy an item of 200 naira and be able to do your business satisfactorily, it is worth it. What if you don't have? There will always be a way. There will always be a way. We don't want to keep giving excuses for doing the wrong things. So there will always be a way.
When there's a will,
there is a way. Exactly. So let there be the will to do the right thing. The way will definitely come.
I've seen people on the beaches that have water bins.
Yeah.
And they tend to line up. They give themselves spaces, and they tend, like, early morning, leaving home very early to go to work. They've already taken their positions, and at the end of the day, you see patches on the floor where, and people just see it as normal thing, mammals, but they don't understand that there is a, how am I supposed to be? I don't even want to say consequence, because consequence is looking like a big terminology or something like that. For me, I feel like it's I don't know how to put it, but if you do me, I do you. Like, there's something I realized, that our environment is whatever we give to the environment, that's what the environment gives. Then when it comes to a point where the environment is not having stomach upset, it begins to vomit those things out.
That we give to
exactly it. It's what you give that, So for me, it's not even consequences too far. Because even from the open defecation, diseases tend to come out. There's easy spread of diseases, but people don't know the gravity of
their actions. Okay, now let me talk on that. You see, I like to take people back memory lane. I'm a Christian, and permit me to use an example from the Bible. When the Israelites left Egypt and they were going to the promised land, from time to time they would camp at intervals, and all of that. And there was a time in the book of Exodus, I believe, where God gave them instruction, and He gave them guidelines. God being the very wise creator He is, He gave them guidelines and instructions for almost everything that they needed to do. Now, for defecation, He said, go outside of your camp. Go with something to dig a hole, defecate into it, and cover it. Man, that instruction was complete. Now, God knew that, okay, these people were going to be staying at intervals. So definitely there was not going to be a need to build structures for toilets, but they still needed to defecate. And God knows that if He doesn't mention, these people can just go about defecating openly, and of course there will be consequences. That was why He had to give them strict instructions to open the ground, defecate into it, and cover it. Now let's look at the consequences. Even though you said it's like a big terminology, but it is what it is. The consequences are very, very far-reaching. They come from the very simple ones to the very, very complex ones. Let's start on the very simple ones. One, it causes unsightliness. Nobody wants to be going and just begins to see feces, or let me call it shit, along the road. It does not look good. It doesn't look good at all. Now, that is one for unsightliness. Two, it's definitely, wherever you have feces, you will have odor. It comes alongside, hand in hand, with the odor nuisance. That is two. Now, wherever you have odor, you will definitely find flies. And sometimes not just flies, it will attract other pests like cockroaches and maybe even rodents, but at least you will have flies. Now, you now have the flies perching on that feces. Now, let's ask ourselves, what exactly is the composition of feces? Feces is a product of the waste from the metabolic activity or process of the body. The foods that we eat after digestion, some of the other bad things that the body does not need, and all of those things put together, that is not good, let's not say not good, that is bad for the body. The body pushes them out. Now, it contains microbes. It is said that I can't remember the exact details now, but one gram of feces contains several, hundreds or thousands of bacteria. Now, you can imagine that. Now, imagine somebody excreting at least about 500 grams of feces. Wow. And imagine how much pathogens or microbes you will have in that. Now, flies perch on that feces and then begin to roam. They find uncovered foods or ready-to-eat foods like bread, donuts, meat bran. They perch on those. Unsuspecting people come, they buy those things or they eat them, and then they get infected with gastroenteritis, diarrhea, cholera, dysentery, etc. Some people end up not getting appropriate care and end up losing their lives. Some end up falling sick for a period of time, spending a lot of money in all of the hardship and all of that. Now, you can see why I said the consequences are from the simple to the complex. So when people can get a picture of all of these things, maybe, just maybe, it can help when making choices of whether or not to defecate in the open.
That's a very good one. What even came to my head now was even this term we use for jedi. I think that's palm, yeah? Sometimes it might not even be palm. It might just be diarrhea or something that you just ate and
it's causing disturbances.
And when you try to trace back, people feel like just because the food is, is looking clean, like there's nothing, there's no stain, there's no, so you feel like it's clean, it's clean. We also have this idea of you go to eateries, they cook top-notch food and all of that. Because one thing about me is I grew up not really eating outside.
Okay.
So it was always in. Then if I was even going to eat outside, there was some spots, minor spots. Well, I still prefer the eateries. But working as an environmental health officer, I've realized that even the eateries, they're just beautiful on the outside. Then on the inside,
it's nothing to write on.
Even your house kitchen does not look like that. And we just feel like, when you have these expensive meals that are like 50K, and you end up knowing you're eating the pathogens with the food, but you don't know. Then if you are now someone that is not, I can't say someone that is not informed, you have all these things to it's my family people, all these unnecessary things. Because even from them, washing your hands is a basic tool. But not everybody grew up washing. It was even COVID that made
hand washing more popular.
But for me, it was even my roommate was, go and wash. And I'm always like, what's your problem now? I didn't touch it. Go and wash your hand. And it really became, let's say, a culture, but not really a firm culture. But it was something
because
that
after COVID, it fizzed out. It fizzled out.
Even the public
gradually.
washing basins, they're not running anymore.
You can't find some of them, most of them anymore. But during COVID, everywhere you see washing points, you see. But the moment COVID fizzled out, just like the hand washing points fizzled away.
You just see the structures.
Yeah.
Some of them even have uprooted it.
Yes, of course. Many of them have uprooted them entirely. While some, you just see the structure. It's just a skeleton and shadow of itself. Thank you.
Even the children, too. Most children ailments they have. Most of them are basically from hand washing, eating.
Yes, and hand washing related issues.
Exactly.
Yes.
Eating and all those picking up things from
picking up things. Yes. Absolutely.
Can you just give us like maybe some examples of diseases that I know there's one that I can't remember. I'm sorry, I can't really remember. But there's one that has is it tapeworm or ringworm, where the egg is with the feces, then flies
yes.
and
okay. You can get tapeworm from feces contaminating or infecting food that is not properly cooked. Okay, and that can be from the feces of somebody who is carrying the infective agent, a carrier. Okay, and that applies to many other infections. Gastroenteritis generally, or the likes of Entamoeba histolytica, Escherichia coli, and so on and so forth. So, and that is just focusing on feces to food-related infections. What brought about this area of discussion is the practice of hand washing and how it helps to prevent infections and the like. But then there is also the part of feces contaminating foods, and that can come from either flies perching or contaminating the food. It can also come from people who go to toilet or who go to defecate, not washing their hands properly and using it to handle food. Now, it is probably a bit better when it is the individual for himself or him or herself, but it is bad when that individual is a food handler, where they use the same hands to handle food meant for the public, meant for a number of people. So that gives multiplication to the number of people that will be affected. So that's about that.
And I think there's a part where I slightly got something where I think there are some foods that are not properly cooked. Sorry, that means the egg don't die and the things like that don't work. So in cases of that, means most of our food should be hot and steamy. But some of us don't like hot food. We don't like hot food. Hot food gives headache.
Okay, I'll come in there. Coincidentally, you are not. I personally don't like hot food as well. But then there are standards. Now, by food safety standards, food should either be cold or hot. Now, cold foods will be the likes of ice cream, salad, and the likes. While hot food, any food you have to cook must be served hot. And the minimum temperature for cooking should be around 70-74 degrees Celsius and above. And after cooking your food, the food must be consumed at least or at most within 2 hours. You must not leave food more than 2 hours after cooking before consuming it. That exposes the food to contamination. Okay, so no matter how hot the food is, you will agree with me that within 2 hours it would have gotten cold, or at least better to the temperature where you can comfortably eat the food. For those who do not like hot food, no matter how the food is hot, within 2 hours, it won't even get to 2 hours. Within minutes, you'll be able to comfortably eat the food. So that's a solution there.
Then, sorry, concerning what you're talking about, I know there was what you just said, not to, is either cold or hot. And then when we were in 100 level, there was something they taught us about danger zones.
Yeah, okay.
I still have that picture in my head, but I can't even bring it out like that. But
okay. So the danger zones are between 5 degrees Celsius to 59 degrees Celsius, because you are expected to have the cold zone. You are expected to have refrigeration from 0 to 5. Are you getting? While freezing from 0 to around minus 18 degrees Celsius. So from 0 to 5, that's refrigeration zone. So 5 to 59, that's the danger zone. 5 to 59. While 60 degrees and above, especially 60 to 63 degrees thereabout, is the temperature in which hot holding devices operate. The likes of bain-marie, steam tables, and the likes that they use at eateries. The function or job of those hot holding units is to keep the food hot, so that the temperature does not drop below 60 degrees Celsius. So you are not expected to have food in the food danger zone temperature for more than 2 hours, and the temperature danger zone is 5 degrees or say 6 degrees, whichever way you put it, to 59 degrees Celsius.
If we never knew about this, it would have felt like, so for me, all those bain-marie we see at the parties and all those, we just see it as per, so that your food will not get. But we don't really know
that there are some other importance attached to it.
Just say some people don't like cold food, but we don't really understand it.
It's also a measure of food safety. It plays a role.
People that do catering, they really understand, because when you are learning from somebody, you might just learn the very amount to depth, because they didn't teach the person depth too. Well, it's like we are even deviating into HSCC.
Okay.
So let's take ourselves out of
open defecation.
Open defecation. I noticed that I think November I think 19
November 19
World Toilet Day.
Yes.
And we have programs here and there to cope to create awareness.
Absolutely.
That. But I don't think it has really gained ground or started having roots, impact or something like that. Because what makes you walk over the bridge and people are bending down and all that? So I feel like within those spaces of the bridge, from the beginning to the end, maybe there should be a public toilet around that side. And there are some places that from one public toilet to another one is very far. And also another thing also is some people don't want to pay, but they don't understand the fact that their payment is to keep that place clean. Because if you go there and mess it up, who will come and use it? It's going to be a nuisance. But people feel like, they're extorting them. To use toilet, 15 naira, 100 naira, it's too much. Why would they? So they feel like it's a better way to. And some people will tell you, it's fertilizer now. And when the sun, the thing will turn to sand, and all those kind of things. But I really do understand the fact that the government is trying its best with, I think, WHO, APIC, and some other people to work on that. But I feel like it still needs a lot of hands, because some of these things are actually, there are preventive ways we can use to, before getting to the curative, because the curative is just like, it has gone far. So preventive ways of, how do you think it can actually, what the measures of preventing open defecation or controlling open defecation?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, I have a belief that you really cannot solve a problem if you do not know the origin of the problem. You have to know the what and why in order to know the how to go about resolving it. Let's take it a bit back to what are the causes of open defecation. And I appreciate the fact that you have even already identified some of them. 1, unavailability or inadequacy of toilets. Now, let's analyze that. Unavailability, how? You have people that build houses, and this is not exaggeration. You have people that build houses and don't build toilets. I can tell you for a fact. I can mention areas in Lagos that this happens. They just build the houses, particularly in areas where there are bushes, new sites. They just build, 4 rooms, 5 rooms, 10 rooms, rent it out, and no toilet, leaving the tenants to go into the bushes to defecate. You have that's unavailability. And then unavailability also applies to some places or areas. For example, you mentioned, you see people walking on a bridge from a distance to a distance, there are no toilet. That's an issue of unavailability. And in some areas, even in Lagos, there are some places, I don't want to mention names, where you find yourself, maybe you are just strolling and you feel, you immediately, of course you cannot control it, you immediately begin to feel pressed and you begin to look around and you cannot find a public toilet. That's unavailability there. Then you have inadequacy. Imagine you are in a big market. I don't want to mention names now, like some of the big markets in Lagos that we know. And you found out that you are pressed, which can happen to any human. And you find out that there's just one public toilet for both male and female. And you guys are like 150 on the queue. Now that is inadequacy. Now you find out that before you say Jack, that queue of 150 would have reduced to maybe 12 people. Yeah. The remaining 138 or so would have found alternatives. Exactly. You understand? So that's the challenge of inadequacy. Then you have the challenge of influx, population influx. Everybody, I'm being specific with Lagos. Everybody believes Lagos is the Greenland, people from the northeast, everywhere. Everybody's coming into Lagos. It would interest you to know that some of these people have no relative whatsoever in Lagos. They have nobody in Lagos. They just know that when I get to Lagos,
Lagos is like London.
I tell you, they get on any kind of transportation and find themselves in Lagos. And because there is no family, no house, no prior plan or preparation for them, they just start sleeping under the bridge, this and that. And of course, they are human beings. They will eat. And of course, they will defecate. Even as a human, when you don't eat, you can still defecate. You will defecate. And then they have to do it anywhere. Now, these are some of the many reasons or causes of open defecation. Now, having identified these, what are the solutions? Now, first off, let me take it from the rare. Those that come into Lagos and all of that. The government needs to look into management. There was a time in Lagos during the tenure of Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola, where he sent some people back to their respective states because, quote and unquote, they were constituting nuisance in Lagos. It's true. They didn't have homes, they were just sleeping under bridges and all of that. So it was better to send them back to their respective communities where they have the other members of their families. So you still have a lot of these people around. Government will need to look into measures that can address the menace of street dwellers, paupers, and all of that. People who live just on the street, because majority of these people are the ones that end up defecating in the open around the place. Now, talking about inadequacy and absence or unavailability of toilet, those ones are easy. I believe there has been a laid down standard by the WHO on the number of person versus toilet ratio, 0 to 10, 1 toilet, 11 to 20, 2 toilets, and so on and so forth. So in marketplaces and other public places, by way of policy and implementation, it should be done such that those places provide corresponding number of toilets based on what is it called now? An assessment of the number of people that come there to transact, and all of that. There should be at least adequate number of toilets to cater for those people. For example, it would be wrong, for example, to enter a shopping mall having, say for example, 50 shops and finding just 2 toilets there, it would be very wrong. Even without doing the breakdown, you would agree that that would be inadequate, because in each of the shops you will have, if at least one person. In some shops you could have 2 people, 4 people who are the service providers there, excluding their customers that will come. You understand? So already you know that is inadequate. So it needs to be adequate. Provision of toilets in these public places, and they need to be adequate. And then that solves the issue of inadequacy and unavailability. Also, government needs to look into, maybe it will be partnership, maybe it will be policy as regards maybe eateries, banks, and other possible private businesses, such that they can help in accommodating members of the public who would like to defecate or who would like to do the business of defecation.
CSR.
Well, maybe if you call it a CSR, whatever it will be called, so that members of the public will be aware that, okay, if I'm walking by any bank, for example, or any eatery, for example, by law, they are liable to allow me access to use their toilet. Or if for the purpose of safety and security, these organizations, we know a bank is a sensitive place anyway.
Yes.
For their safety and security, they may be mandated to provide the toilet that opens to the public, such that the members of the public do not necessarily have to come into their banking hall or have no business with their banking hall, except those who really have a business there. So such that if somebody is walking on the street by any bank, you know for certainty that there will be a public toilet or a toilet open for the public in that kind of a place. This can be a policy that can be implemented on banks, eateries, shopping malls, etc. All these public businesses. It's just a suggestion.
I'm actually looking at the disability of people working, because Lagos is overused. I don't even know how to put it. Overpopulated. There's no space. So if you're even having a building, they're even managing spaces where they don't even have standards.
I'm listening.
They don't even have standard rooms for things. Like
how much more creating?
How much more now opening that kind of place up? So it's a matter of concern where we don't even have adequate spaces to actually condone things like this. So, but I feel like there can also be all these public mobile toilets. But the question is space.
Now,
you can't put it on the drain.
Yeah, I understand. In the case of mobile toilet, if you ask me, not even if you ask me, let's look at the origin of mobile toilet. In Nigeria, if I remember correctly, mobile toilets gained popularity from the year 1997 thereabout. Yes, and it was introduced by a man who used to be named, I've forgotten his real name, but he was fondly called Otumba Gaddafi. And the idea came from, he realized that when people had parties and fields and open places, of course it's a party. That means people would eat and drink. And then he realized that they will end up just going around and messing up the place because there are no toilets, urinate here and there, defecate here and there, no. And that was how the idea of the mobile toilet came about, and he named it the DMT mobile toilet, which was a very, very innovative idea at the time until date. So in my opinion, the idea of mobile toilets can work as well, though there will be limitations to where they can work. But of course, just now that you mentioned, they can work. And it can either be CSR by private organizations, or it can be government project, it can be individual projects, and so on and so forth. It could be philanthropical, whichever way. But then the challenge with that is there will be need for close monitoring when the tanks are filled, somebody has to come take them, empty them, or dislodge or evacuate, whichever way you put it, and so on and so forth. That's why it is better. I use the word better for short-term use, like parties, where it's used for a period of time, or fiestas, seminars, whatever, events that are just lasting a couple of hours or maybe days, and they are used and removed. So they require so much follow-up to evacuate, to dislodge, and all. So imagine having them all around the place. There will be need for serious, close monitoring to check, okay, is it filled up? You have to take this, go there, take that, and all of that.
Oh wow. Now that's a very, very valid point, because naturally stomach, the way stomach is to just, I can't say disgrace somebody, but just try to pull pranks on people.
Yeah, it has to do his job.
When you just have to run like, madam, this, and she'll be like, I understand. And some people say, no, there's no space, and there's no. And banks are also very careful, because people come in, security, even the eateries too. Though banks are more sensitive, but everywhere is sensitive, because crimes can happen anywhere.
True.
Anywhere.
Very true.
So it's even, I also feel like these things should also start from the see, when you want to make a change, children are the I don't want to say lab rats, but they are the good specimens for experiments. Because when things happen, when they tell you, don't do this, don't do this, as a parent, they will just walk up to you and say, mommy, our teacher said you should not do this. You say, yes, ma'am, I've heard. So they begin to pester you to get to a stage, you start conforming without you knowing that you're even you get that kind of thing. So when they come and say, when you want to do something, say, this child will come and tell me, oh, mommy, I don't even know what they're teaching them in school. I'm even tired. But you're the one paying the school fees. Exactly. So children are like the best specimen. I don't even want to say specimen. The best type of human beings to use.
I think to buttress that, countries like Japan, they introduce policies, culture, etc. Whatever it is that they expect to see in the future, they introduce it to their citizens, quote unquote, from when they were in elementary school. So they teach it to them, so that eventually they will see them become those things. It's as simple as that. I used to tell people, if we want cleaner and better environment, we need to review our curriculum. What we teach our children should capture the things that we wish to see in the future, so that we don't have children who litter the environment, who dump. I don't know if you have seen in recent times some of these new bridges built around. Go and check those bridges. People have started dumping refuse on them, and then you ask yourself, are those people really human beings? Do they use their brains, and all of that? So I believe you're right. Children
you have
that.
a point there also, because when I was coming, I actually thought about something. Something came to my head while I was coming. This issue of street sweepers, I actually have a thought concerning them, because it's when you are in a position, you know how it actually feels than when you are outside a place. It's just like someone that never expected that there will be a street sweeper. They begin to throw things on the floor and throw things on the floor. When they now become street sweepers, they will not be complaining, these people, they know human beings. But when you were not in that shoe, you were doing the same thing. And there's one Yoruba adage that was in my head. Please pardon my Yoruba. They said, "Tawa soposita." Abi, I don't know, but it's to meet you that is inside. So you that you're even making mockery of somebody outside, what will you do when you're in their shoes? Or how will you handle it if you turn out like that? So there's a need to really bring people, and I also see community participation.
Definitely, there is a need.
We are lacking these things in the sense that in the olden days, then you know your neighbor, A knows B, B knows C. But not everybody is doing mind your business. And I also understand the need to mind your business. Because I, for one person, I don't fancy paparazzi. Strictly mind your business. But it has its pros and cons too. So in a situation where we have community sanitation, nobody wants to come out. Everybody is waiting for first person. If you now manage to gather 5 people, that sanitation might not even work well because we all have different ideas in mind. Let's use our hand. No, let's use our leg. Let's use this and let's use that. So there's also a need. I feel like there's also a need for community participation. As EHOs, how well do you know your community? Do you know the head of your community? If you are coming with a policy or an engagement, do you know the people you're supposed to meet?
Meet and gather.
How well are the people that you are meeting meet with the people under them? So it's a thing of basic concern, community participation. We don't want to participate in anything. Even the election, I'm sure it was the grace of God. People literally came out for election because we all sit in our houses and mind our business. And there was love there, but now everybody's not really connected. So how can community participation be a big thing? And I feel like EHOs are closer to the grassroots.
Absolutely.
So how do we fix
how
the
do we
community?
Use that? How do we leverage on that?
And leverage on that.
I think you've already highlighted the answer. So the good thing is, okay, the bad thing is the open defecation, but the good thing is we have environmental health officers who walk from house to house. So what that practically means is environmental health officers would and should know, house A has no toilet, house B has inadequate toilet, house C has adequate toilet, and so on and so forth. So also EHOs would know, the chairman of the CDA lives in house number 52. The chief imam lives in house number 2. The head of the tout lives in. I'm serious. These are information that environmental health officers know or should know. Now, when there are government policies, the environmental health officer would be able to know that, okay, let's call the chief imam. People used to listen to him. Let's call the CDA chairman. You see the head of those guys, let's call him too. And of course, it's practical. So the environmental health officer can gather people that will help to drive policies. Trust me, policies will not work without community mobilization and engagement, without liaison with the community. It will not work. They have to be involved, they have to be a part of it, they have to feel this sense of belonging for it to work. And on the other hand, the environmental health officers will need to work on gathering of data. Data. Very, very important. If we can get our data right, we can get help, even to help our own government. There are international organizations, UNICEF, championing, measures against open defecation. If we can get our data right, we can be able to present data that, okay, these are the numbers, these are the figures. And then if we have data right, we can get more help and we can get out of the issue faster than we thought of. So that's where EHOs come in.
And there's a part where you mentioned people build houses without toilets.
Absolutely.
And I also see where people build houses, quite alright, they have toilets. Some toilets are not even standard toilets. Some people don't want to use, I'm in a building and we're using pop flush, we're using pit. And I can't be sharing toilet with 20 people. So it's better for me to just go and do my business outside. And we have buildings that have shops, but they don't have toilets for the people that have the shops. So why would you rent out a shop without thinking
that they would need toilet?
Do you expect me to go from one building and not go down the junction to? It's not actually making any sense. So I think there was also a need to go back to building constructions, looking at the layout of buildings also. Then
to ensure that there are every necessary provisions. Absolutely.
In basic, no, poor flush, no. But even some, there are some people that they can't even, when they share toilets with 2 people, 3 people, they already have infections. You will just say, I'm not using it, they use it like this. The next day, the day is coming, you just hear complain, I'm having stomach, you've not even thought for 1 second, they already know that it's infection. So I think there's also need to actually look at building constructions, policies concerning buildings, and also
and ensuring that they meet up with standards. There is that. Then
the consequences, let's say punishment or corrective measures when there's a defaulter.
Yeah, sanctions
should also be put in place. So when you do this is what you do or you do. And that's why I feel like even sometimes, rather than putting money as the sanction, there should be something like maybe community service.
Yeah.
If you know you cannot pay, okay, community service. Putting structures of community, okay, where. Your community service might just be to go to a school and just create awareness. It can just be go to a particular facility, serve there for just like 1 week, and that's just it, basically. But humans have ego, we have pride. Be like, why would me, a whole big person like me, go to school? And some people don't even have the idea of how to talk to students. So I think there should be a way to ease out some things, how we can put this thing back into place. And it's not going to be a day thing, because Rome was not built in a day. But one thing is, it can actually burn in a day. I always put that behind it. It can burn in a day.
That's true.
So you can build something with years, and one child can come and destroy it in a day. So I believe things like that are gradual steps, and also making it flexible. That sometimes you don't need to come with all these razzmatazz, and you can just start from bringing people closer, allowing them to understand what the message you are passing. Not like, hey, if you do this first day, 50K, that's just the end, nothing. Sometimes punishment doesn't soften the heart. It actually hardens
it. I agree.
It hardens. That's why sometimes when you want to punish a child, counseling and just
to let the child know and understand what
you cannot beat them later, but explain to them why I'm beating you. But when you come, there's sometimes you don't even need to beat them. You just need the correction of, don't do this, don't do that. If you beat some children, that's where they become hardened and they turn out the way they're not supposed to turn out. So I think yes, I would say there's still a lot to do. We started something, but there's still greater places to go beyond, and things to look forward to, and all of that. So can you just give us a closing remark?
Okay, so it's been a very interesting discussion, and my closing remark is that one, like we said, remember that whatever we give to the environment gives back to us. And in multiples, actually. If you give good to the environment, it gives good back to you in multiples. And if you give bad to the environment, it doesn't have a choice. It gives that bad back to you in multiples, because that's just how it works. Now, as environmental professionals, I want to charge us and implore us to keep up the good work and to strive to do more, to do better, to be better at what we do. Because it is when we get better at what we do that we'll get more recognition. And we know what more recognition brings to us. More recognition brings more employment opportunities, brings progress to our professional practice, brings a lot of opportunities, positivities. So we need to really strive at doing more. And to every other person listening who is not an environmental health professional, I'll take you back to the first statement of whatever you give to the environment gives back to you in multiple fold. And you all want to japa, you all want to travel. Whatever you would not do in that other country, why should you do it in your own country? Would you not want your country to look like those other countries? You know the answer yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this amazing session. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. Thank you. You can like, share, follow, and just pass the message out there, because these messages are very, very important for us personally, and for us as a profession, and for us as human beings in this world. They are very, very important to us. So we'll catch us on the next episode, which I don't even know what the topic is going to be about, but always come with your coffee, your water, and always promise not to choke. We will always have something good to tell us. So thank you so much for listening in. Bye.